Hey, Alicia.
Hey, Stace.
So I've been thinking a little bit about leadership presence and how we've
Yes,
talked about what it is and what we can do to support ourselves in becoming more present. And I guess the question I have for you today is, how do you maintain any sense of presence when things are really sort of going off the rails, when we're experiencing a lot of chaos or a lot of challenge, which I think a lot of our leaders are talking about all the time?
it was happening in a session that I was doing yesterday with a group of leaders. We were in the middle
Mm,
of focusing on, their big picture visioning, and then all of a sudden a crisis with one of the students happened, and they had to
oh,
manage
wow.
it.
Hmm.
So, what we want to offer everyone here, we've been talking about pausing, breathing, and it sounds kind of counterintuitive, Stace, and yet that's what we want to do as a leader in the moment. We need to focus on ourselves first. And
Hmm.
we don't necessarily need to do it for a long period of time, but as Peter Myers and Shan Nix in this wonderful book they have about, as it's called As We Speak, what they talk about is that when things fall apart, it's a
Hmm.
chance for leaders to step forward and become a secure base to the people around them. And that's
Hmm.
actually what I witnessed yesterday. We were in the middle of this session, but one of the staff people came in and said this kid had a bike accident, fell off his bike, bleeding, had his helmet on,
Hmm.
everything. And everybody in the room, you could tell they mobilized. They stayed
Hmm.
calm though,
Hmm.
and they managed it by doing a few of these very simple checking in with themselves kind of practices here.
Yeah, I do think that when emergencies or crises happen, people look at the leader, right? They look to see sort of how
They
is the
do.
leader reacting or responding to the situation.
That's right.
And these practices that we're sharing today, we've already talked about a couple of them, pausing and really just giving yourself a chance to catch up with yourself a little bit.
That's right.
And breathing, of course, we did some of those activities and practices, in our last video. There's also noticing, and I think it's also helpful to just notice our own response or reaction in the moment. And again, it's a little bit like pausing. If we notice it, it gives us an opportunity to do something about it. It sounds like that's what the leaders yesterday were able to do.
They did. And they were, what I was really noticing about them is that they, even the staff that came in, you could tell they were a little anxious, and yet they were clear. They were sharing
Mm,
the story of what had happened. They were very clear about, we called 911. The parents are meeting the child at the hospital, like this is what we're doing, like, and there was movement happening. Like what I
yes.
noticed was that they paused, they took a breath, they were, walking down the hall together. They were going to where they needed to get to. And, I didn't, we've talked about in the last video, we talked about tuning into your senses, like to get present, like if you feel
Hmm.
like your mind is going everywhere, to take a minute and even like reinforce inside your own mind and body that, okay, we got this. I have
Hmm.
this. We're going to figure this out together. It's going to
Hmm.
be okay. We're going to keep them safe, and we're going to be okay. We're going to get through this. And I think those kinds of very simple supports and reinforcements, they really go a long way in keeping leaders and their teams really calm during crisis.
Wow, it sounds like that was a really powerful demonstration of exactly what we've been talking about. And honestly, that's exactly what's needed from all of us as leaders in those moments when things sort of come out of the blue and we have to be ready to be able to respond.
That's right. So we would certainly love to hear from you if have ways that you really
Mhm.
tap into your own leadership presence and how you do that with your team. Email us info@tlstransforms.com. And thanks for listening.
Thank you.